The running back has to be amazing if they expect to land in Canton one day.
Henry does it year after year after year after year. If he doesn't take another snap his entire NFL career, he has a Hall of Fame argument to be made.
There are no shortage of superstar running backs in today's NFL, but like it or not, the majority of them won't get any real consideration from the Canton committee. We're about to sort it all out as we look at 5 NFL running backs who will make the Hall of Fame and 5 who won't. Will Derrick Henry. Even if King Henry retired today, he would have a compelling case for Canton. I mean, Terrell Davis is in the Hall, and he only played 4 healthy seasons and 78 total games over 7 years. Henry has way more accolades than any other current running back. That includes 2 rushing titles, although it would have likely been 3 if he didn't get injured midway through the 2021 season, along with the 2020 Offensive Player of the Year honors and a 2,000-yard season. But it's not just Henry's career accolades that are impressive. You just gotta watch 5 minutes of film to get an idea of just how dynamic and explosive the former Alabama product has been at the NFL level. You just don't see running backs single-handedly taking over games the way he does. Just look at the Titans' 2019 playoff run that got them within a game of the Super Bowl. Few running backs have his ability to move like a race car and power over opponents like a freight train. We'd give Henry a Canton vote if he retired right now, but he's got several prime years left in him. We expect the 2015 Heisman Trophy winner to finish with a close 10,000 rushing yards when all is said and done. Won't. Saquon Barkley. Barkley is a human highlight reel when he's healthy. I mean, just take a quick look at his 2018 and 2019 tapes. The key word, though, is healthy, because injuries have unfortunately derailed much of his career. The number 2 pick of the 2018 draft won Offensive Rookie of the Year honors, racking up 2,028 yards from scrimmage and 15 total touchdowns. Unfortunately, he missed 3 games in 2019 and all but 2 contests in 2020 after suffering an ACL tear, and then 4 more games in 2021. That is a lot of injuries for a running back in his mid-20s, and we all know that most guys at the position start to decline well before they turn 30. Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, Devontae Freeman, and Le'Veon Bell are just some of the many recent examples. Barkley could stay healthy over the next few years, but he's already behind the 8 ball, so to speak. It's going to take longevity and consistent production for the former Penn State star to piece together a Hall of Fame resume, and we're not banking on that happening. Will Christian McCaffrey. Like Barkley, Run CMC has been hit frequently by the injury bug over the last 2 years. But there's already way too much strong production on McCaffrey's resume, and if he can squeak out a few more healthy seasons, he should definitely make it. He's only one of 3 running backs to put up both 1,000 yards rushing and receiving in a single year, having done so in 2019. The other running backs who accomplished that feat, Roger Craig and Marshall Faulk. McCaffrey follows a strict and detailed diet and workout program, so you can tell he's determined to play at a very high level for a long period of time. Running backs of his caliber don't grow on trees. I mean, you just don't find rushers who are Pro Bowl caliber pass catchers too, and McCaffrey's uniqueness in that regard should score him bonus points from the Canton committee. If McCaffrey can just stay healthy for a few more years and avoid the proverbial running back wall at the age of 30, Run CMC should definitely make it. Won't. Austin Ekeler. On one hand, Ekeler is kind of like McCaffrey in that he's a prolific pass catcher and probably could make a smooth transition to wide receiver. But unlike McCaffrey, Ekeler doesn't quite have the high rushing totals that are necessary for his spot in the Hall. 2021 was Ekeler's best season as a rusher, as he finished with 911 yards and 12 touchdowns on the ground. But before that, he had never reached 600 rushing yards in a season. So we could very well be looking at a guy who will never be a 1,000-yard rusher, which has to hurt his chances. Ekeler is already 27 years old, so it's not like the Los Angeles Chargers workhorse who's suddenly going to pop off for several All-Pro seasons. And despite his game-changing abilities, Ekeler earned 0 Pro Bowl or All-Pro nods from 2017 to 2021. Don't get me wrong, he is a fantasy football darling right now, and Ekeler should continue to be productive. He's also an awesome story as an undrafted free agent out of Western Colorado who made a name for himself at the NFL level. But the overall production and career accolades just aren't there for him to receive any significant Hall of Fame consideration. Will Jonathan Taylor. Running backs simply don't last long in today's NFL, so it's absolutely imperative for them to get off to a hot start if they want a shot at the Hall of Fame. And Indianapolis Colts superstar Jonathan Taylor has done just that. The Wisconsin product burst onto the scene as a rookie in 2020, racking up 1,169 yards and 11 touchdowns. Proving that it was no fluke, he won the 2021 rushing title by posting 1,811 yards and 18 touchdowns. If the Colts had qualified for the postseason that year, Taylor likely would have garnered consideration for the MVP award. Regardless, Taylor is in a great position to succeed long-term with the Colts. They feature one of the league's best offensive lines, anchored by stalwarts Ryan Kelly, Quentin Nelson, and Braden Smith. Chris Ballard is one of the game's best GMs, and head coach Frank Reich will always get a lot out of his running backs, plain and simple. If Taylor can stay healthy, and if that Colts O-line continues to hold up, he will rack up all the 1,000-yard seasons he needs to win over Canton voters. He has been the NFL's best running back, not named Derrick Henry, since 2020. So who's to think that Taylor can't get in? Won't. Joe Mixon. As hard as it may be to believe, Mixon was only named a Pro Bowler once through his first 5 seasons. No All-Pro nods to speak of, however, and he didn't lead the NFL in any of the major rushing categories during that span. 3 1,000-yard seasons through 5 years to begin your career is solid and all, but Mixon is just one of the many active running backs with those types of numbers on his resume. And whether he likes it or not, the Bengals are gonna be a mostly pass-heavy offense going forward, with Joe Burrow airing it out to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. With the league's best receiving trio right now, why should Cincinnati prioritize giving Mixon a heavy workload? Look, at this point, Mixon is likely to fall short of 10,000 career rushing yards, and he's not gonna get anywhere close to 70 rushing yards. Both are very important marks in order to win over the voters. With all due respect to his career production up to this point, Mixon stands practically no chance of getting into Canton. Will, Ezekiel Elliott. We've talked about how Elliott is past his playing prime now, but unlike most running backs on this list, he has a superb resume, elite production, and the individual accolades to back up his case. Elliott isn't a top 5 running back anymore, but he's still productive and capable of putting up a 1,000-yard season. He won 2 rushing titles in his first 3 seasons, including in 2016 as a rookie. That's no small feat. The former Ohio State sensation has multiple Pro Bowl nods as well as a first and second team All-Pro selection on his resume. If he can just retain even a modest level of production for like 3 more years, Zeke is gonna hit 10K rushing yards. And he has a very decent chance to finish top 20 all-time in rushing touchdowns. So at this rate, bank on Zeke to get in. Won't. Dalvin Cook. So, remember what we said earlier about the lifespan of running backs being shorter, so they need to get off to a hot start in order to stand a chance at getting into the Hall? Yeah, sadly, injuries have prevented Dalvin Cook from doing just that. Cook played 4 games in his rookie season in 2017, before unfortunately suffering a season-ending ACL tear. Then a hamstring injury kept Cook out of action for 5 games in 2018. Sure enough, Cook was mostly healthy over the next 3 years and recorded 1,000-yard seasons in each of them. Over that span, he posted 35 total rushing touchdowns, including 16 in the 2020 campaign. But still, Cook never played more than 14 games in a season over his first 5 years, and sadly, these injuries for running backs rapidly pile up over time. How many more productive years does Cook realistically have? And though he's a multi-time Pro Bowler, Cook hasn't led the NFL in any of the top rushing categories. That stuff is going to matter to Canton. Minnesota is a more pass-heavy offense now too, with Kevin O'Connell calling the plays. And at 27 years old, it's hard to see him competing for any rushing titles going forward. The Hall of Very Good? Yeah, absolutely. Cook would be a first ballot member there. But the odds of him making it to the Hall of Fame simply are not in his favor. Will. Nick Chubb. If you look up the word consistency in a dictionary, you'll hopefully find a photo of Nick Chubb. The former Georgia standout has been much more than the Cleveland Browns could have ever asked for when they used a second-round pick on him in 2018. He absolutely flourished as a rookie with 996 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. But like the first season of Seinfeld, that was only the start of something very special.
I think you may have something here.
Chubb proceeded to reel off 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons from 2019 to 2021. And in that span, the Georgia product had 28 rushing touchdowns and 3 Pro Bowl selections. Again, consistency matters. Chubb is in the perfect place in Cleveland. With an elite offensive line complemented by Kevin Stefanski's run-heavy offense, Chubb should continue to generate elite production for several more years. Chubb is well past 5,000 yards for his career. He's been mostly healthy through his first 5 years in the NFL, and if he can retain this solid pace, we like the guy's chances of getting into the Hall. Won't. Alvin Kamara. Kamara has been a franchise-changing superstar for the New Orleans Saints. He won the 2017 Offensive Rookie of the Year honors and earned 5 straight Pro Bowl nods to begin his career. So I mean, on paper, that should already be enough to get him in. right? Well, not so fast. Kamara suffers from somewhat of a similar problem as the aforementioned Austin Ekeler. He racked up 81 receptions in each of his first 3 years and surpassed 700 receiving yards in 2017, 2018, and 2020. And while the Saints and Kamara's fantasy owners love every bit of it, the thing is, he's a running back, and Kamara doesn't have a single 1,000-yard rushing season on his resume. In other words, his rushing numbers simply aren't going to wow you. San Francisco 49ers great Roger Craig has a stronger resume than Kamara, including 3 Super Bowls, 1 1,000 season, and he was named to the 1980s All-Decade Team. And yet, Craig isn't in the Hall of Fame. Doesn't make any sense. We know. Clearly, Canton just isn't wowed enough by running backs who can put up 700, 800 rushing yards and a similar number of receiving yards in a season. Unless Kamara were to stop catching passes and get used strictly as a running back, and unless he records several 1,000-yard seasons down the final stretch of his career, it's hard to see a scenario where he actually gets in. But which other NFL running backs do you think will make the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.